I'm Haley Franklin, Executive Broker with the Brandon Group.
I'm Caitlin Huddleston with AMC Mortgage.
And today we're here with Michelle Hauge. She's an independent financial advisor with Strategic Partners.
I read an interesting statistic a couple weeks ago that only 17% of financial advisors are women. So I think that's awesome that you're in an industry that is very heavily male dominated and you're killing it and very successful. So we love that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me here today. But yes, there's about 14 to 17% of advisors that are female, and we're trying to grow that number. But I absolutely love what I do. I've been doing it for 16 years. And again, for my clients, I mean, the most important thing for them is to have a plan. And that's what we start with, is gathering information regarding assets, liabilities, savings, spending, when they want to retire, and see how all of that works together. A lot of clients are retiring a lot earlier now. They like, 50, 55, and if that's the case, that's great. But there's a good chance that you're going to be living 30, 40 years in retirement, and that's a long time to plan. And so we need to make sure you're not going to run out of money.
So why do you think someone should go through a financial planner versus saving for their future on their own?
So being able to have an advisor really gives you that comprehensive view. You can see how everything works together, all those pieces that I mentioned, and they continue to work and work and work, but then all of a sudden it's time to retire and you're like, now what do I do? And so being able to bring all of those pieces together is very helpful. And another reason too is that you may have access to other strategies by working with an advisor that you may not have on your own. And so that gives you additional options, flexibility, and a little bit more control over your finances.
Right, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Exactly, that's very true.
So why is it important for somebody to start now, meeting with a financial advisor now instead of later? Because I think a lot of times it's something that we put on the back burner.
Of course, when you're younger, you're busy, you're maybe taking care of a family, traveling, doing lots of different things. And you think you have time and you're like, I'll take care of that later. And like you said, it gets put on the back burner. But the sooner you start hands off, I mean, the better you're going to be long term, just with the compounding effect of savings. For example, I have a client who he actually came in for his own retirement planning as he's about to retire, but brought his 2 daughters with him, and we had them start saving, and the value that they will have 20, 30, 40 years from now is incredible. And he was saying himself, he's like, I wish somebody had told me that.
And I think that's so important. And part of why we wanted to visit with you today is to let people know that instead of saying, I wish I would have, that you can do this and you can do it today.
Yeah, another thing is, I mean, a lot of, if you're employed and you have a 401k at your employer, a lot of them have matching. And yes, you're working hard for it, but it's free money.
Free money, yeah.
Even
exactly.
At the minimum, if you can do, if it's 3%, 4%, 5%, just to get that full match, I mean, you're already doubling what you have by what you're putting in into that account. So
you mentioned a 401k plan. We also hear about IRA plans, traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs. Can you kind of dive a little bit deeper into the differences between those?
Yeah, of course. So all of those, I like to say 401ks, 403bs, 457s, traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, those are all umbrellas is the way I like to look at it. So that's the type of account, and the investment within the account is very flexible, and you have a lot of different options. What all of those do the same is provide tax deferral. So it's just based on the type of account and where you are at the time. The 401ks, those are through your employer plan. The traditional IRA is something that you'd open on your own, or a lot of times people will leave an employer and roll over their 401k into a traditional IRA. That's not saying you have to, but if you roll it over to an IRA, it does allow for flexibility and usually additional investment options that might not be available within the 401k. Then you mentioned the Roth IRAs as well. That's another strategy into the Roth IRA, and it grows tax deferred. And as long as you meet the requirements, you should be able to withdraw those funds, all the earnings, income tax free down the road. So that's the big difference between the Roth IRA and the traditional IRA. Any money you withdraw from the traditional, you will pay taxes on at that time and is added to your income that year.
Who do you think would benefit from meeting with a financial advisor?
Well, honestly, anybody can. So whether you're single, married, children, divorced, widowed, I mean, everybody can benefit from having a plan and really seeing, where they're at and what their short and long-term goals are. So I always like to say one size does not fit all. And so every single plan is different for your individual circumstances.
Absolutely. And a man is not a financial plan, is that right?
Correct. Correct. Yes, everyone should have their own plan. You don't know what 6 months, 10 years, brings. So it's definitely good to have a plan.